Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends Series Deluxe Spider-Man No Way Home MCU Green Goblin Norman Osborn figure. And this one is highly anticipated. Everybody's been wanting it. Can't wait to get it. And you know what? It's really good. There's one thing that's aggravating and pissing me off beyond belief about this figure, but overall it is really good. Hasbro absolutely nailed the likeness to Willem Dafoe, Norman Osborn's character. Like, it looks so good, and Matt Murdock looks so bad, and Tobey Maguire looks so bad. It's like, what is going on? When they nail it, they nail it, and when they do bad, they do really bad. So it's kind of crazy, but awesome figure, awesome deluxe release. It's around $50. I got mine from ToySnowman.com. They're based in Canada. You guys have heard this spiel over and over again, I'm sure, but check them out for all your action figure needs, whatever you collect, whether it's the Hasbro stuff, McFarlane toy stuff, NECA stuff. All of that can be found at ToySnowman.com. Link in the video description below for my referral link. First time buyers, when you create your account, you will get a 5% off coupon code in your Frost Rewards. Check them out, ToySnowman.com. Here, Green Goblin I got in, and I am very happy with it. Aggravated a little bit, but mostly happy. Looking at the package, we see the figure and everything like that. We get the artwork of Green Goblin in the background. Does not look like Willem Dafoe at all, by the way, but looking really cool. Here on the side, we get a look at the figure as well. We get a breakdown of everything that the figure comes with. So you can see we get the Goblin mask head sculpt, which is a bit odd because it doesn't really go with this. At the end of the movie, he doesn't wear it. He breaks it, so we don't have like that classic Goblin look. But it's nice that we get it, and you can pop it on there, and it works. We get the hood, we get the goggles, we get one single pumpkin bomb, we get the flight stand, and we get the glider in there. And you can see the glider has some points of articulation on there, and I kind of messed with mine a little bit already to see how much more I can force it a little bit, because it looks like it could do a lot more, and it kind of can, but then I kind of don't recommend doing it. But anyway, there it is. There is the look at the box. We don't really care about the box, we care about the figure and everything like that. So here is the stand, the glider. I put it on the flight stand already. We'll take a closer look at all of that as well. It's pretty limited in paint, just a heads up on that, but I don't think it looks bad in any kind of way. And then we have the figure here, which has like an incredible amount of sculpted detail and things going on with it. Like, it's almost too much going on, but it looks incredible. So we'll take a closer look at that. The one thing that does irritate the hell out of me is I have a hard time getting this guy to stand, and there's going to be a couple of reasons for that. Actually, I don't know if it's a couple of reasons, but the main reason is the feet are really pissing me off, because the foot, like if you have it just like regular out, if you look at how bow-legged they are, they don't really sit flat. You have to adjust it, and then I keep adjusting it, and he still doesn't really want to stand. So it's irritating the hell out of me. And then from that, it's like too rounded or something with the feet. So it's like kind of like the Hydro Stomper issue that I had before, where the feet were too rounded, so he wouldn't really stay flat. He just wanted to wobble. And because of that, I'm having the hardest time just getting him to stand up regular, and it's really bothering me. Like earlier, before I put his feet things on the glider, I put them on his feet, and I was able to actually get him to balance and stand better. And that's just balanced on like, you know, a little peg kind of thing. But yeah, it's bothering me quite a bit. I think that's something that is definitely a problem. If you have him on the glider all the time, you're not going to have to worry about that. But if you just want him to stand up, it's going to piss you off beyond belief, because it pisses me off. But anyway, let's zoom in for the closer look at the figure. Okay, so here's a closer look at Norman Osborn, and I've magically gotten him to stand on his own. It just takes some work, more work than it really should require, to get his feet to really stay flat. And even then, like, I'm looking at it and his toe is off the floor, he's like balancing on his heel, and it's really bothering me. But let's get in for a closer look at the figure. So earlier in the movie, he was wearing a purple hoodie, and here you can see the hoodie's still on him, but it's kind of like all tattered and ripped, and that gives us the hood to the Green Goblin. So while he doesn't have the classic comic look, this is about as close as we were ever going to get based off of this design. So he doesn't have the Goblin helmet on there, but it will pop onto the figure, and I will show that. But I really want to showcase, you know, the crazy details before we look at like the Norman Osborn head, because this thing is just sculpted all over the place and is insane. It's kind of weird to think that the original Green Goblin suit, you know, was just all green, and so I don't know where these purple parts really came from, because, you know, unless he painted them or something else going on there that they just didn't show in the film or something like that. But he's got a whole lot going on. So we get like this belt piece here. He's got this big pouch on the side where he would assume he would store his pumpkin bombs kind of thing. There. Looks like we get some yellow things with some silver things in there. I don't actually know what those are, what these are, but they're on that belt. A little black for the buckle there. This purple thing can come off, but it's not really designed to come off. But I will try to pull it off later and try and get it over the arm. But even then, there's a whole lot going on to these arms. So looking at this, all the sculpted armor on there, we are pinless at the elbow. Looks like, you know, some broken parts. You could see, I don't know if it's going to be like carbon fiber or something that's up underneath. There, that's like this classic Goblin look there we should be looking at. He's got this piece here which has the blades on there, and I don't know if these are like rockets that would like shoot out or go onto the glider or something, but here we have like those knife parts where he, you know, he stabs Tobey Maguire at the end when he's fighting the Tom Holland Peter Parker. He's got some things sculpted on there. I do have him holding the pumpkin bomb. The pumpkin bomb is quite small, and now I'm like, well, how do I get it out of his hand? You can see it's just orange. It's got a little bit of glow green down there at the bottom. And I can't actually get it out of his hand. So it's a perfect fit for his hand, but it is very small. Like very, very small. So small, I can't get the damn thing out of there. But as you can see, there's some sculpted line work on there. I'm going to just leave it in because I can't seem to get it out of there. So we're just going to leave it in his hand. Looking at all the details, some purples, some silvers, some yellows in there, and then look here at his thighs, like what these extra armor pieces are compared to the original design of the Goblin. And I have the old Hasbro / Toy Biz release here. So like, where did some of these pieces come from? You know, I don't really know. I guess, oh, maybe he had yellow on his legs before, but I don't really know how accurate that toy was in comparison. But some crazy things going on in here in the armor with purple, silver, and yellow. Same on the legs there, down to the feet. The base of the figure is like this metallic green in there, and then everything else. But looking at the feet, it's not flat enough. Like it's a little too rounded, as you could see there. It bothers me like quite a bit. Like it just so irritating. But the figure looks really nice. We're pinless at the knees. We actually get some painted parts on the back, silver and yellow in there. Even here on the back, a little purple armor. So there's some crazy things going on. And it looks like that could be damaged, right? This purple armor piece might be missing. It looks like it could be damaged. So lots of sculpted detail throughout the figure. So it was, you know, pretty crazy. But let's go ahead and get it in for the several different looks. So we have the hoodie on there. It is on the head, so we just pop the head off. And then you can pull the Norman Osborn head sculpt out of the hood. No big deal in there. It's not glued or anything, so you can have the hood separate. And then what you could do is, and we'll do this first, you could put the Goblin head on there. He does have an exposed neck, but when you look at it straight on, you're not going to notice. But when you look at to the side and things like that, obviously you're going to notice those things. So just a heads up on that. But again, straightforward. You're not going to notice the exposed neck, but then when you start turning your head and turning his head and things like that, you are going to see the neck. But again, yes, while it pops on there, it's not designed to look like that, because in the movie, he didn't wear the helmet while the suit looked like this. So, you know, it doesn't really work. But you could do it because it came with it, and I think we all collectively would be extremely pissed off if he didn't have it, probably, right? Even though it's not necessary, it's a good side accessory to have for other things. But, you know, it's there. It pops on, just exposed neck. Looks really good, though. It doesn't have, like, a purple shine to it in any kind of way. And I'm not even sure how Hasbro would be able to do that if they could. That would be absolutely amazing if they could have figured that out. But as it stands now, we get these nice gold, like, greenish gold eyes. And then silver in there for the teeth, and then black in there for kind of the part that covers his actual mouth. But yeah, that helmet looks really good. I like it a lot. We're going to pop it off. We don't need it on there. We're going to pop our Norman Osborn head sculpt on there. So you could have then here without the hood, and you got the goggles on, or you can take the goggles off and just have the Norman Osborn head sculpt. And Willem Dafoe, absolutely. He looks like a little bit of a younger Willem Dafoe, and I know they kind of de-aged him a little bit in the film, I believe. But I still think that likeness is really, really good. They get the sinister little smile in there. His teeth came out nice. Just really good overall. I like the way it came out. And one thing you could also do is we'll pop that head back off. We'll pop the head back into the hood. And we're going to pop that back on the figure so you can have the different look. So the goggles, he only wore the goggles for a short time, you know, when he's flying around at the end. But when he's fighting Peter Parker in like the apartment building when Aunt May dies, you know, he doesn't have the goggles on, but he's wearing the hood. You know, that's kind of when it like starts the whole thing, and you can have that look. And I just think that came out great. So there is the overall look of the Green Goblin figure. There's a whole lot going on with the figure, but I am absolutely in love with it. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the glider. There's a lot going on in the glider. We got the flight stand, so you can kind of adjust it, you know, depending on how high up on your shelf you're going to want it. And you just really have to force these ball pegs really in that flight stand to go in there. And I think I had the same issue with the Hawkeye glider, where I felt like the flight stand didn't really work, or there was something that didn't work, and I just wasn't forcing the ball peg in there enough. But you want to be careful, because the way this is designed, it thins out before the ball peg, so you could warp it, start to bend it. You see the plastic stress marks in there. You want to just be careful. You want to slowly back and forth force it in there. So just a heads up on that. But what these flight stands allow you to do is if you pop it off the peg, right? So once you get it back on the peg, let me go with the lower one, I guess. So you want to get the peg in there. And then what you could do is it allows for the different angles depending on how high you have it. So that's what's great about these flight stands. But anyway, I'm going to take the flight stand off for now, and we're looking at the glider overall. And a couple of cool things. We get some paint on here, but again, it's pretty minimal. A little bit of green there, a little bit of green there, and then green inside here on this vent portion, even though this is the front. This is the front. It almost looks like that should be the back, but that is in fact the front. As you can see, it kind of has the thrusters here in the back, same green color. The purple is all painted on there. The base color is this like gray silver. It has somewhat of a metallic sheen to it, not a whole lot. It doesn't look cheap, but again, it's also noticeable that it's very minimal in paint, but I think it works. It does look pretty good. The original like Toy Biz / Hasbro one, as you can see there, it did get some color in there. I don't know if those were pumpkin bombs that could pop out or what that was, but that got painted. But you can see that while similar, obviously we are definitely a little bit bigger. The purple's a little bit different. The inside is going to be pretty similar as well, except it looks like we have a lot more going on in the inner workings. These rockets did not get painted on the new Hasbro one. You can see they're all just done in the same exact gray color. They do not come off or anything like that, but they are a little bit pliable, as you can see there. So kind of crazy. Now, one thing is I see some metal pins. So there's metal pin, metal pin, metal pin, metal pin. I'm thinking that's a lot of articulation, right? Well, kind of no. It's very misleading. The way it looks like it could bend in all kinds of sorts of way. I don't think it's truly designed to do that, though. So as it stands now, you can have the glider, and that's just basic. And then you can articulate it like that. What benefit that has, I don't actually know. I'd have to get the figure on there, and I haven't really messed with that a whole lot. So I'm not really sure how that works. But I wanted to test some things a little bit and see how far we could really force it. And I kind of did, and I got all scared, so I bent it around that much there. Because it you know, it looks like it should be, like if there's metal pins in there, shouldn't it be able to do it? And it kind of did, and I don't know if it really it needs to, but it does give it that full-on bent look that, you know, at times he kind of had. Again, I don't know if it's truly designed to really do that, and I was scared it was going to break the whole time, but I was able to do that, and we can get it back into the flat position there, and then you have your glider together. But there is the glider. These feet parts were separate in the package, so you just pop them on. They do say L and R, so you know which one is the left, which one is the right. So then you could just, you know, port that right back on in there, or you could take it off, put it on his foot first, and then port with his foot on there, because it does peg into the bottom of the foot. So it is better to just put these on first and then put the feet on both in there. And then there is some articulation in there to allow for the foot movement there. So there we have the glider looking good. And then we will position him on there soon, but we're going to take a look at the articulation of Norman Osborn, Green Goblin first. So here we go. Okay, so the articulation for Green Goblin, I'm going to leave the hood off and everything like that. So we can only look up so far. Even with the hood, it's definitely going to be even more limited. He can look down, not really. Full rotation in that head. You do get some good pivot going on because he's going to have some attitude and stuff when fighting and being all mad and angry and things like that. So we have that there. The shoulder can go straight on out like so. You get a full rotation in there. As you can see, there's no butterfly joint, so just a heads up on that. We do get an upper bicep swivel in there. Double jointed pinless elbow, so you get that much bend there at the elbow, which is quite nice. Wrist swivel, and they do hinge. To the left is a fist. You can see swivel and hinge. It's a little stiff, but you do have that hinge on in there. The right hand is a grip hand for the pumpkin bomb, and it is a death grip hand because that pumpkin bomb is just not going to come out of there on its own. You're going to have to get something to ply it in there, or my fingers are just too big and I can't get in there. I can rotate the pumpkin bomb. I can't get it out. I'm sure there's a way, but just a heads up on there. He will hold that pumpkin bomb extremely tight, so you don't have to run the risk of losing that because he's just never going to let it go. We have a diaphragm cut on him, so you can move him side to side. That is your swivel there. The tilt motion, you can tilt him to the left that much there. You can tilt him to the right that much there. One thing I forgot to mention, he actually kind of pudges out there in the stomach, which I thought was a little bit of a odd design choice. You could really see it round out there. Not sure why they did that. You think it would have been a little bit more flat. But they did that, so just a heads up on that. Crunch forward, as you can see, not a whole lot. Going back, not a whole lot there. So it's a bit weird. And then when you kind of go back, you really start to see how it really rounded out for some reason. And I think that's, a little bit, in my opinion, of a design flaw. It just looks odd having it. Like, you have to have it in hand to truly see, like, why did it get so round? It was a bit weird. So just a heads up on that. One thing I didn't anticipate, though, is this guy's got drop-down hips. So drop-down hips on there. And the drop-down hips, I'm sure, are to help facilitate the spreading of the legs when you have them placed on the glider. But they do have them. Again, I was not anticipating the drop-down hips, but they are in there, which is a nice touch. Of course, upper thigh cut in there. Legs do go out that far apart, which is going to be necessary for the figure, of course. So upper thigh cut. You get double jointed pinless knee, so that much bend there at the knee, and that looks pretty good. As you can see there, there's no calf swivel or boot swivel of any kind, but foot hinges down a little bit. You get some hinge up, ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So that is the articulation for the Green Goblin. And before I get into posing him onto the glider and then doing a comparison with some of the other Spider-Mans and stuff, while I'm at it, we're gonna see about this hoodie piece, if we could really take it off. It's not glued on there, so you can remove it, but it's a bit tricky the way the arm is designed and getting this to lift up a little bit. Let me see if we could do something like this to work it out a little bit there. We can get some lift on it, and then look at that. I got it. But there's so many sculpted pieces on there, and you got to work that through the armhole. I feel like I'm gonna regret that later. So you can remove the hoodie, but in the movie he had that hoodie part on, so you can do that. And this gives us a more of a classic Green Goblin look. And I just dropped the head and now can't find it. I got it. And let's pop that helmet on, the helmet head sculpt. And again, the exposed neck might drive some of you guys crazy. So this almost gives us a little bit more of a classic Green Goblin look because, we just don't have the purple on there. But it's obviously not quite. But it is on there. And then here, I think without the hoodie, you could really kind of see how his stomach piece is just a little bit bigger. And I just don't really know why. The belt hides some of that. But it's weird. it's just kind of weird. But there we go. So not too shabby. I do prefer it with the purple hoodie on there though, because again, it feels like it did get a little bit smaller up here, and I'm sure that's to accommodate the hoodie piece and make it look normal. You know, if you throw in this thick hoodie, and then it would make this look a little top heavy and just be a bit odd. But if you wanted to, you can actually have that removed, but I will be placing this back on as I get the figure onto the glider, and we can check that out now. Like I mentioned before, it's best to put these on the feet first. You know, obviously, because then you can just really be able to make sure the peg on the back of the foot is in there before placing it on the glider. So then you could just peg one end in, peg the other end in. But, you know, even sometimes then it can get a little tricky, but you can have him on there. Now, posing around is going to be a little bit trickier. I have to see kind of what the best way to do that will be, because I'm not sure exactly. So I'll have to kind of play around with that a little bit. But we'll see, you know, in certain poses, getting him to crouch down a little bit, that's going to be tricky. I probably should have posed the legs first, then port them onto the glider. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit to kind of show you guys how that is. I think it's going to take too long if I record that kind of that process. But as it stands, I will put that into the video. And then if it's worth noting certain things, I will show you guys that. Okay, so here is the pose that I'm going to put Green Goblin in. And you know what? It got a little bit... It got way more trickier than I would have liked to do it. While I said to put these things on his feet first, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, because when you want to position it around in certain ways, they end up popping off of his feet once you peg them into the glider anyway. So again, it gets very tricky on how you can do some things. And then the way I had like the glider articulated before, you know, like forcing it in certain ways, I don't know if that's even going to be possible once you have like the feet on there and stuff. So like spreading out the glider and doing certain things gets very tricky with the legs anyway, because will it really allow for that movement in certain ways of what he could do? It's gonna be tough. So just a heads up on that. And then depending on your angle in which you have him gliding and stuff, so you know you can do certain things. So it's more difficult than I would like it to be. I don't know of any other way. I also don't have the SH Figure Arts, because that thing I think was $180 or something, 150 to 180 bucks, whatever the final price was. That thing was insane. Will it be easier to pose that around on the glider? I don't know for sure, but it could be. I wish I had it to compare, except I didn't want to pay that much. You know, 50 bucks versus 180 or whatever, you know, was crazy. But no doubt in my mind, Tamashii Nations would have done an excellent job in the details and the articulation. It's just, that's just crazy pricing for me. But it just, a heads up, it can get very frustrating to get this thing into certain poses with the glider and stuff. I'm going to try and articulate these the way I had pushed the limit before and see if I can get Green Goblin on there. But just a heads up, in case you have some frustrations when trying to pose it around, I'm sure you're not going to be the only one, but you know, once I think you get it, and when you're satisfied with the pose, I think it's going to be more than satisfying, and you'll be very happy with the end result. Okay, so here's another one, and I have it kind of leaning to the side. Again, it gets very tricky. So I bent the glider as far as I could to really give it that curvature look. So I did that, and then, but the legs obviously can get a little wonky. You got to really factor in the ankle rocker, the ankle pivot, and then the thigh swivel, and it just looks a little bit funky. You just kind of have to pretend like the leg is normal looking, and you can kind of get into some certain poses. Now, the other thing is, I'm not that great at posing around figures and doing things like that. Other people are extremely talented, so much better than I am, because I don't think I have any talent when it comes to posing. I get lucky from time to time, but that's just because it's luck and not necessarily skill. So lots of people are going to be able to really make magic happen with this figure. For me, I just don't have the patience or the skill set to be able to do that, but a lot of folks will, and I'm sure we will see a lot of awesome photography when it comes to this Green Goblin. But for now, My apologies. This is the best that I'm really going to be able to give you guys. So just a real heads up on that. So it can be a lot of fun, but again, there are a lot of frustrations with it. I think you can work around it. It's just a matter of putting the time in to do that. But the good thing is, you could swivel these feet pieces to turn the foot whichever way you would really need to do. So that's really not going to be an issue. And then it does tilt a little bit there. So all that helps. So you really have to put all of the pieces into certain motions to be able to really get it to work. But again, I'm sure a lot of folks can really make those happen. Another really tricky thing, and I think this is where a cap swivel or boot swivel really would have come in handy, because I want to get certain things and I can't turn the leg to be able to put the feet in certain way, right? So if there was a calf swivel or boot swivel somewhere, if they figured it out, the design of it does not really allow for it, but if they had figured it out somewhere on the figure, I think that would also help getting the legs in there into certain poses to where you can kind of turn the leg and really make it make sense. But unfortunately, without, I think that's going to hinder some of our ability to get them into certain poses. So I wish, unfortunately, we don't have that. Okay, so really the best I could do for a side-by-side comparison, you cannot have this glider like sitting just on the platform whatsoever. It really needs the stand because the curvature of it, you just can't, and then it won't lean forward like this one did. But just looking at the side-by-side comparisons, the Toy Biz Hasbro, at the time, these were probably fantastic. Like, we're talking early 2000s. Well, actually, this was a Hasbro release, not at the time of the movie, and they just repurposed Toy Biz figures into a Marvel Legends line to build that ugly-ass Sandman Build-A-Figure. So this would have been actually 2000... When did it come out? 2008, maybe? 2006? When did the third movie come out? Like around 2008, maybe? 2002, 2004, 2006? I don't remember exactly what year it came out. I'm trying to think of when Hasbro got the license, and I thought that was 2008. I could be wrong on that, but again, Hasbro, this was a Hasbro release, but it was just, again, a repurposed Toy Biz figure. But come a long way. It's so much better now. But I would love to see Hasbro take on this Green Goblin here. Give us the same exact glider, but give us this Green Goblin. I would buy it up in an instant, right? I think a lot of folks would. 2022 would have been the 20-year anniversary of the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man film. That would have been the time to do it. However, we got... What did we get in 2022? Was it the Spider-Man one? It was the Spider-Man one. So we had the Beyond Amazing 60 Years of Spider-Man, right? They could have done something within there, but we got all comic figures. Movie figures would have been... Oh, we had some movie figures, right? We had the Peter Parker, Ned Leeds. It would have been awesome to get like that movie Green Goblin. Maybe one day it could still happen, but now we have the No Way Home version, and I'm very happy with it, albeit frustrated. I am very happy with it. So maybe one day in the future we could see Hasbro take on that Green Goblin. I would love to see it. You guys let me know down in the comments below. Would you like to see Hasbro release this version of Green Goblin? I bet you would. Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so we're going to do some side-by-side comparison times. So I know they didn't really get any screen time together, but we have the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man next to the Green Goblin Spider-Man, or we can throw in the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, obviously, right? This one makes a whole lot of sense, even though in the movie they did a crime by not having them really interact with each other. So that was very unfortunate that they did not do that. Here, the Tobey Maguire look, and Green Goblin is a lot taller than Spider-Man. I think that kind of works a little bit. I'm not mad at it, but I'm trying to think in the movie, was that really the case, size-wise? I think bigger the Green Goblin is, the more menacing it is, but I also like scale. But again, Hasbro doesn't do scale very well. We had the integrated suit, because that is how that final battle was played out, was with that suit, not the final swing suit. But here we have comparison between the two. I think their size comparison actually works really well. So we have that there. But yeah, really happy. We got now Sandman down. We got Green Goblin down. We still need Doc Ock. Hasn't released here in the US yet. It has released in parts of the world, so I'm very excited to get Doc Ock whenever that may be. So we're still waiting for an Electro and the Lizard to really round out all of the villains. And, you know, Hasbro again has teased if those things are going to come. I'm very hopeful. We shall see, but I hope that we do get those figures to release. But, you know, who knows for sure, you know, if these No Way Home figures sell well, which I really anticipate them selling well, except for Daredevil and MJ and Sandman a little bit, right? The 3 Spider-Man figures are obviously going to sell like crazy. Because I've seen, you know, at Walmart's, I've seen MJ on the peg. I've seen Matt Murdock on the peg. I've seen Sandman on the peg. Haven't seen the Spider-Mans on the pegs because those are being bought up first, of course. So if these sell well, you know, I think that's more fuel to get Electro and to get the Lizard because we need a new Lizard. The one that we have sucks. I hope to get a new one. And then Electro, we want that version of Jamie Foxx's Electro, not the blue skin version because it looks a little bit weird. He's all glowy and stuff. So hopefully we see it. You know, sooner than later. But I think these Spider-Man figures all look really good with the Green Goblin. I'm just very, very pleased that we have it. So before I end the video, I'm going to try and do something to where I'm going to pose this guy holding the glider or with the glider somehow, trying to get Green Goblin, and then we'll see if I can get Toby to kind of stop it. I think that's going to take a lot of posing capabilities that I'm not the best at, but I'm going to give it a try. Also, for the fun of it, I did put the pumpkin bomb into the Machina de Cadavis. You can't really force it. I mean, you probably could force it into certain spots in there, but then getting it out would be impossible. So just a heads up on that. Be careful. Okay, so setting it up, the awesome thing is the 3-pack of the integrated suit had the wall crawling hands, which perfectly hold the glider. So I have him kind of going in there. One step that I have not yet taken is to somehow fit Tobey Maguire in there to stop Tom Holland's Peter Parker from stabbing Green Goblin. So I am going to work on that next, but it's awesome that this guy can just hold that with those wall crawling hands. So another great use for that 3-pack, you know, obviously you get the updated integrated suit Spider-Man, but we get those wall crawling hands, which perfectly hold the glider just like that. As you can see, the hands are just in there and it holds it really well. And now that I'm trying to do it with one hand because I'm holding on to my light over here to make sure that we get enough light on his face, I cannot get it to balance. So that was fun to do, but I'm going to try to fit Tobey Maguire into that mix. Okay, this proved to be a little bit more difficult than I had hoped, and just angle-wise, it's going to be hard to really see, you know, each other's faces and things like that. But I kind of get it in there, and what's going to help is having both sets of wall-crawling hands for the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man to be able to really kind of push back on that glider, you know, like, elevation height wise, like, does it make most sense on where he's going to grab it? Like, these spikes are going to hit him in the face, things like that. So you can make things work. It can get a little bit tricky. I tried my best to kind of go through it, but a lot of fun can be had, you know, with all of these figures. But anyway, enough of all of that. We kind of get all these things out of place. We have our glider. We have our Green Goblin figure. That is my review. It's an awesome figure, but again, does come with some frustrations. I would rework the feet to be way more flat and sturdy to where I'm not having difficulties getting him to stand up, and that because, like, look at how weird that foot is right there. Calf swivel would have gone a long way for positioning him on the glider and certain things, but once you get it into a good pose, you want to leave it there and it's going to work out great. The pumpkin bomb, when you get it in the hand, it's never going to go away. You have to pop it out, but watch out, that sumbitch is going to fly out. Luckily, it landed here on my desk, but it's going to fly out once you pop it out of the hand, so be careful with that. Have some fun with the figure. Hopefully we get the other villains, but this Green Goblin figure, in my opinion, is absolutely worth the money to pick up, especially when you compare it to, like, the SH Figure Arts, which was like 3 times plus the cost. The glider looks good. It doesn't look cheap in my opinion, but is lacking in some paint apps, sure. But you guys let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of this Green Goblin Norman Osborn figure? What do you think of the glider? What do you think of Spider-Man No Way Home figures in general? What did you think of the movie? Let me know all of it down in the comments below. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you're interested in helping support the channel, hit that join button to become a channel member and be a part of the MCU collective. And as always, thank you for watching.